this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is Listening Beyond the Soundbites. Today in studio we have a special guest, Matt Hill. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. He is the Libertarian candidate for Vermont U.S. Senate. That's great. I'm so glad. We ran into each other at the Tunbridge World Fair, and he was handing me a pen, which I have in my pocketbook, by the way. And I said, hey, want to come on TV? So here you are.
Right. Thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome.
And it was something I had never thought I was going to get any press whatsoever. And yes, I was giving out pens at Tunbridge Fair for 4 days, spent probably 55 hours at the Tunbridge Fair handing out pens.
And you said that was your first time there?
My first time going to...
You'll go every year. It gets in your blood, I swear.
Yes, I am... Yeah. I will be vacationing there next time. I won't be working the fair.
I don't know if you noticed on the hill towards the town, there's houses.
The old fair.
Church, yes, and one of the people up there rents their backyard for trailers. And a friend of ours, that's where they spend their week vacation, is on the hill overlooking Tunbridge. And so we all go there and sit, and he makes his big pot of soup, and we sit at night and look at Tunbridge and the lights. It's great. I love Tunbridge.
It's great. I went to the Big E for the multiple, the ultimate, or the multiple times that I've gone, probably 10 times, and I always thought that was a great fair, but Tunbridge
is better.
Rocked.
Yeah, Tunbridge is great. They have great food and everything. So.
Right.
Let's spend some time now just kind of talking a little bit about your background and let folks know who you are, and we'll get to the why in heaven's name you decided to run for the U.S. Senate later, but talk about your background.
My background, I have never run for a dog catcher position or anything else, but given Bernie's views on things, I was really kicking myself, saying, quit yelling and complaining. Why don't you do something about it? And I saw what was needed to be done to get elected, or to get to be able to run. And I said, I think I can do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it for the next 2 years, but I'm going to start putting one day at a time. Right. And I started. I rented a booth at the Caledonia County Fair, my county. Fortunately, I live 5 minutes from there, which it was great just being able to go home, as opposed to having to rent someplace to sleep outside, which I've done, and going to these fairs, and obtained enough signatures to go as an independent. And then once I qualified as an independent, the Libertarians came to me and suggested I might want to run with them, and I chose to run. I looked at their platform, and I chose to run with them. Now, the Libertarians don't like, the platform of the Libertarians is they don't like government interference, and they believe in protecting our own. So they don't like, the Libertarians don't like giving money away to other countries, because we can't afford to. Right now we have $35 trillion in debt, and so they want to start taking care of our own, but keeping the hands of government out of things. The Libertarians also do not believe in universal health care, and I do believe in universal health care. So that was a little bit of a contention. And we also do not believe, as Libertarians, do not believe in closing the border, which I strongly believe in. But there are factions within the Libertarians that do want to close the border. So
when they say don't close the borders, they must have checkpoints and stuff on this side. I mean, they want to vet people that come in?
They don't want the government assistance.
Ah.
So there's a couple different groups. I'm no expert on the Libertarians, having become one recently. So
I didn't know that about the border, but as long as I don't mind not having a cap on it like we have, but they should at least be vetted. We'll have to check that out. Huh. Interesting. So have you had a work history? You've had a very interesting background, I think, in business.
I've done a lot of different things. I'm trained as a CPA, which is a certified public accountant. So I've done accounting over my life, but having the accounting background allows me to do a lot of different things.
Sure.
And I've also had some rental housing, both short and long term. And I'm a financial planner. I was with various broker-dealers, which are a broker-dealer is like a Merrill Lynch or a Bank of America that supervises people like me,
Cool.
making sure we're not stealing from
their clients.
from the clients. Exactly. But recently I became, in the last year or so, I became a registered investment advisor. I have 30 years
Nice.
experience doing it. And now the state supervises me, essentially.
Great.
And just basically anything to do with money, I understand.
Good skill to have.
So
I could shake your hand, maybe someone will rub off on me.
unfortunately, it's not that easy.
I remember somebody asked me to be the treasurer of their campaign, and I cracked up laughing. I said, "You do not want me to be your treasurer." I just mess up. It's not that I do anything
Right,
bad.
do anything wrong, but
No, I just don't get it. I can read a budget, but that's about as far as it goes.
the left side
Yeah.
debits don't equal the right side credits.
Exactly, something like that. But anyway, so, all right, here's the question. You sort of said a little bit about Bernie and his position on things, but it's a big decision. It's not like running for the House or the Senate. It's the whole state of Vermont, which is pretty daunting. You know?
The actual running or the actual doing the Senate job in
Oh, no,
Washington?
just
Which were you talking
running.
about?
I think
Yes.
doing must have a flow to it, because as things come up.
Doing it will be much easier
Yeah, I think it would.
than the amount of running
Yeah.
that I've done. Going to all the fairs and various things
Right.
around the state. I just show up and hand out pens and
say,
hope
"Here you are."
and hopefully people will listen. But
What's the
one thing-
reaction from people?
It's about 50-50. Actually, depending on what part of the state I'm in. If I'm in the Burlington area, it's probably 80% of the people don't want to talk to me,
Right.
And don't want to pay. Like, how can you do this?
Right.
In the rest of the state, it's probably a 60-40, where they love the fact that I'm running against
Right.
Bernie. And one of the things I'm curious is where is Bernie? Because he's not campaigning around
No.
Vermont. He's
He's
campaigning for the other socialist
Right.
parties. That he's the leader of a group which used to be 5 called the Squad,
Right.
and
Lovely.
2 of those Squad people are not coming back, which is great. But he's off campaigning for like AOC
Right.
in New York.
Well, I think he's also campaigning for Kamala, is he not? I thought he was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thought he was out there doing that.
Yes, and Walls.
Right.
So, and they say that Kamala is more socialist than Bernie is.
For
So
sure.
I think that we're in a little bit of trouble.
I think so.
So, but
Yeah.
we will see what happens.
I just don't know. I mean, she's changed her mind, and people are allowed to do that for sure. If they have a good reason to change it and they can explain it. I'm just not sure how much of it will slide back to what she's done in the past. We'll have to see if she wins.
Well, if her running the country is anything like her running the border, it's not going to be a
I know
good 4 years.
Yeah, the borders are. Anyway, so you have, I said this to you before, but you have got an excellent website, and I would encourage people to look it up, because not only do you list things that bother you, that are issues for you, you also attempt to give recommendations on how to fix it, which is, I haven't seen too much of that on anybody's website.
That's very flattering.
No, that's it's very true. It's kind of good to see that.
Well, you have to have a different idea. If you're saying another person's ideas are wrong, you have
like,
to
what are you talking about?
offer something else.
Yeah.
And as far as the website, I did the content pretty much exclusively, but a website building firm called Nico,
Yeah.
Northeast Kingdom Online, did my
Nice.
website, and they were phenomenal
Yeah,
to work
excellent. Very easy to navigate, and
Thank
you can find what you want, what you're looking for, and that's a plus. So what I thought we would do is go through those key points that you brought up on the website, and you can talk a little bit about your solutions, because I think people would love to hear it. And of course, the first one is your basic border and immigration, which is a big hot topic, as we just talked about libertarians.
Right.
So.
Right. I want to close the border immediately, and I have always fully agreed that we need a fence around it. It worked for Israel, keeping people out from blowing up babies in baby carriages, 20 years ago, and it was shown it was working, and then it was stopped.
Right.
And then you see pictures on the news of the border, the fence being cut, and people throwing flowing through like it's a sieve with water flowing through, and thumbing their nose at us, and but still coming in nonetheless. We're the greatest country in the world, and people want to come in to us, and we need to be able to get people in quickly and more efficiently, so that has to change. But we also want to make sure that these people aren't going to harm us, that they don't have a terrible history of harming others, and will do our country good.
Yep. I agree with you, and I always wondered, the current legal system is so expensive. I don't understand why they make it prohibitive money-wise from people applying, when at the border you come in and you get
It's
everything
free.
for free. I mean,
And you're given stuff.
Yeah, where's the thought about that? How can you charge people who are trying to be legal through the nose, and you're giving everybody free that comes in illegally? It makes no sense to me.
Makes no sense to me either.
You should just fix it.
I have a couple clients in my for my accounting business who came to us, to the U.S. One came from Venezuela, and two others came from Argentina, and they did it the right way. It took them 10 years.
Yeah.
One still only has a green card because it's a father-son. He still has a green card because he can't read enough of U.S., so he can't answer the questions. But his son got through. The Venezuelan, thank goodness we allowed him. He's a super surgeon and has an advanced surgeon for gastroenterology.
Wow.
And one of the requirements that he not get a green card, but get citizenship, is that he had to serve an underserved area with his specialty. So he had to move a couple times in order to do it. So there are ways, and there are people who jump through hoops legally. And he sent me his citizenship when he got out of the citizenship.
That must have been a big day for both of them, that the son and your client.
Right.
I mean, after going through 10 years of that nonsense.
Right. They're so happy when they become U.S. citizens.
They must be mad about what's happening at the border,
They're
though.
furious.
Yeah, with all these free medical and education, housing, everything. It's unbelievable.
And we're paying for it.
Yeah, and I'm like, hello, how about me? What about me? Anyway, so the other one, the next one that you have on your list is Social Security, which is concerning me, because I happen to get it every month. What do you think?
Well, the good thing for you is it probably will never affect you.
Oh, okay.
It's scheduled to, quote, run out in between 2030 and 2035.
So my daughter will have to worry.
and when they say run out, they're saying saying that, they're trying to say that it's going to run out and you're going to get nothing, but basically right now, you're going to get like 90% of what you currently
Oh, no kidding.
will be
I
projected.
thought it was nothing.
If nothing, no, it won't go from this to, it won't be a cliff.
Oh,
So it'll just get discounted, and which if you're paying taxes on that, that means your taxes on that will go down too. So it's not real traumatic. But yes, we need to fix Social Security for the coming generations.
nobody thinks we've ever paid taxes on the money in the first place. As we gave it to them, we paid money in our.
Right.
We've already paid taxes, right?
Right, but
Just checking.
but you probably won't. Or you will probably get more than you put in. Most people do get more than they put in.
It's because we're lasting longer, right? You know what I think they should do? At one point during the year, they stop if you've reached a maximum contribution level. Sometimes around November, they won't take Social Security because I reached some maximum.
I'm not sure exactly what you're talking
Okay.
about, but for the people who make a lot of money, for the people who make over $168,000,
Right.
part of that money, part of that Social Security tax gets shut off.
Yeah, right.
If
So
that's what
I
you're
think
talking
if you
about.
get a check, you should pay Social Security. There shouldn't be a cap. You should just.
Right. That's the medical part of Social
Yeah.
Security. The Social Security, the FICA,
Okay.
is made up of two parts. 6.2% for Social Security part,
Right.
and the 1.45 for Medicare. And the Medicare part gets shut off after
Oh,
100.
thank you for that. I didn't even, shame on me.
So, I want the people to pay the whole time.
Right.
I don't want it to get shut off.
Because you're used to living on that amount of money that you get, so what's another couple of months?
Right, and it's
and
the
it would
high-
add to the coffers.
And it's the higher income people that are doing
Right.
it, and the company also, the company who pays it,
Right.
also doesn't have
Yeah,
to
and that'd be a
pay for
painless,
that.
sort of a painless way to do it, because you're used to it. So that's what you get. That's what you get.
Right. Well, the people that have gotten used to having it turned off at a certain time of the year are used to that
Well, that's
too.
true. For me, it was mostly in December when Christmas came, so I had a little extra money to pay for gifts and everything. Well, that's cool. Anyway, so the next one on your list is national debt.
Our
And you
net-
mentioned it. How much is our national debt in the trillions? you said?
35.
35. I'll write that
And,
down.
and probably 40% of that has come in the last 10 years. It's just skyrocketed, both one with the COVID and two with all these migrant costs
Yeah.
that are building up. And our debt is unsustainable, especially if it keeps growing. The sooner it stops growing, the better. But we also have to reduce the debt a little bit if we want to keep our standing.
Stop spending.
Yeah,
Is that the-
but nobody wants to stop
No.
spending. I've heard many times over the last few months, what are you going to do for us?
Right.
And basically, as a senator, you've got 100 other people that you have to convince
Right.
to
Right.
go for it. But it's really our time that we have to start paying back some of this money. We have to start hurting a little bit in order to win in the long run, basically, financially.
We do. It's going to be tough, but you've got to. It's ridiculous. And a lot of countries, we owe, like Japan, right? We owe them a bazillion bucks. And if they ever called in the debt, I keep saying to my husband, what if they say, that's it, we've had enough?
Well,
off your debt.
countries owe money to each other.
Yeah.
They're buying each other's currency, and
Gets me nervous sometimes. One time my husband and I, we were talking about what does a trillion look like, and we started writing zeros.
all the zeros.
There's a lot of, I got hysterical after a while. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Most people wouldn't know how to write it.
Well, we were struggling a little bit, and here we're fairly intelligent, and we're writing zero. That's 1,000, a million, trillion. Oh, Lord.
extra 3 zeros on, on every time you go up a level.
You know, well, that's what I wanted to do here in Vermont, was to put up a debit clock. And every time, because what happens is, and the same in Washington, they take bills separately from anything else. So when you're looking at a bill, you'll say, well, it's for children and it's only $5 trillion. We can afford that. But the clock on the wall would add $5 trillion, and it would be cumulative as you're going through the session. So I would want to do it here in Vermont. So all of a sudden they're up to $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, and we're like, whoa! But
it's real money.
Yeah, because they look at the bill all by itself, isolated from anything else, and they say, oh, but it's for the kids, or oh, it's for climate change. That's my favorite. But anyway, sorry.
Right. There's plenty of vicious cycles.
Yes, right.
Going. Plenty of crises to spend money.
Exactly. There's always, and the next one on your list, I love this list, is climate change. We just talked about that, and I was thinking about the hurricane in Florida and the mess with FEMA, that they don't have enough money, that there's rumors about that. Speaking of illegal aliens, that they're using FEMA money to pay for those people. And
right. And so they just want more.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but now we've got people that have lost their homes in Florida, and well, the whole East Coast. It goes up
and
to
here too.
And here, of course. You're right.
I live next to Lindenville, and we saw
You got hit bad.
businesses close,
Yep.
bridges go away.
Right. Yeah.
So
some people are still waiting for FEMA to cough it up.
right, and they have no money.
No, and they have no money. You'd
That's
have
tough.
to fix that.
See what we can do.
Seriously.
Got to get elected first.
Yeah, well, that is true. But I think once you get there, I think most of the people in the legislature, they know what's going on. They may not admit it, but they know we're in trouble. And they weren't even prepared. The next one you have on your list is strong military. And, where do you start? After our exit from Afghanistan was
horrible.
That's what started this whole thing, I think, because they saw how weak we were, and they just said, oh, Russia said, oh, forget this. They're not doing anything right. And China, it's just horrible what's happening. And the Hamas with Israel.
These are all bad characters.
Yeah.
And we have to eliminate or severely restrict their money flow. A lot of it is due to the Biden administration giving Iran back the ability to earn money, and as soon as that happened, they can pay their little proxies all around the world to do bad things.
Why do you think they are? What do we have with Iran that they want to hold on to or protect? What is it about Iran that they have such a soft spot, I guess? Why do we give them money? They don't deserve money. They're not nice.
No, and I can't answer why, but I know they stopped a lot of the sanctionings, and back when there was a different administration, they were almost bankrupted.
Right, and they didn't cause trouble.
And they weren't causing trouble because they didn't have the money.
Exactly.
It all comes down to the money.
There must
if
be
you cut off people's money, bad things stop.
Yeah, I don't get it. And they're vocal about how they feel about us. They really hate us, so they don't make any secret about that. And they've got a call out for Trump's demise.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, they have contracts on them, supposedly.
Right. It's like incredible, just incredible. How would you, being in the Congress, how would you even start to get a handle on what would be the answer? Is it the strong military? Build that up. I understand the Navy is like half of it's hardly anything left of our Navy, and certainly for China, Navy's important.
Right. But the quality of our Navy is superior to everybody else, which is good. Yes, we're down from where we were, but we have a lot better technology and a lot stronger ships. China may have more, but they aren't the same type of quality.
Well, thank you for telling me that.
But they're building more, faster, so who knows what could happen. I know that our and I've been against the Chinese for many years because of that they used to steal all our technology if we wanted to go over and do business with them.
Right.
Which is just ridiculous. But that's what.
And now the Chinese are coming through the border without anybody vetting them or anything.
Well, everybody's coming through the border.
Yeah, but the Chinese have a little something in the back of their head, I think, as do others. You're right. I just think a strong military. I'm very active with the USS Vermont, which is a nuclear submarine, one of the sort of the top of the line nuclear submarine, and we went to its christening in Groton. Oh my God, that thing makes you feel like an ant. It's just huge. It's just huge. It's amazing.
Were you able to tour inside?
Well, I had the opportunity, but to get into it's a
tube.
ladder. It's in a tube with a ladder that's straight down.
Right.
It's not.
It's not a staircase. It's not a stadium staircase. You're climbing.
I passed.
Right. No, I can.
Because I couldn't imagine the poor guy standing down there thinking I was going to fall, which I probably would have, and we both would have been in the infirmary. So I passed. But we met the crew, and it was a fabulous day. I just didn't see the inside of it, which they have all of the rooms and everything about the ship has to do with Vermont. The Catamount. There's pictures of bridges all over the place, and because we've sort of adopted the ship, it's really cool. But I didn't go down. See, now you knew that.
I'm surprised they would let people down.
Oh, but they did, and everybody that was there. There's just a few of us that. Maybe if I'd had my sneakers on, I might have tried it, but I was afraid. I was a coward.
Right. I would think that might be classified, but.
No, it's not anymore. When CAX went there. And when they went into the main cabin with all the equipment, it was all boarded up. They couldn't show CAX because it hadn't cleared something yet.
Right.
So, anyway, so the next thing on your list is, this is very appropriate, capitalism versus socialism.
That is pretty much why I decided to run against Senator Sanders, is because I'm fine with universal health care for socialism. I'm fine for Social Security. I welcome those things. Those take care of people, and they allow people to live with dignity. They won't lose their savings, or at least all their savings, and become more expensive for us to take care of. But I don't want to become a Venezuela or a Cuba, where you go to Disney or Amazon, where the government goes to Disney or Amazon and says, you've done a great job building this, but we're going to take over from here. And that's why I did that. So all these things aren't going to affect me. But they will affect my kids and my potential grandkids. So that's why I'm doing this. And I had the ability. It's very tough to get into politics. It has to be the right time. I inquired mainly at the bequest of my wife, who doesn't want me to do this because it takes up a ton of time and it's cost me a lot of money. But I asked the prior chairman of the Libertarian board and told her I would fund her a lot of her campaign. I would help her. I would do this. I would do that. But it wasn't the right time for her. She's in her 30s or 40s. She's got kids that she home teaches. She's studying for a nursing degree. She's got 3 or 4 things that each in its own would qualify as, I can't do this now. And so most people can't do this. That's why you have all these old men doing this, because that's the time of life they are. If they've gotten through life and paid their bills and have a career and still have money flowing in.
Right.
You know, young people don't have that because they're just starting out. They're having kids. They're doing, they're running to soccer and hockey and all the sports
Right.
for their kids, and they're helping pay for all their kids' stuff. When the kids go away, it gets cheaper. Life gets
That's
cheaper.
the truth, right?
So this is my time. I can do it now, and I'm not so old that I can't manage a bunch
I
of
was
different
thinking,
things.
Bernie's 81, is he not, or 82?
Right around there.
So 6 years, if he wins, he'll be almost 90.
Right.
And that's kind of
And
exhausting thinking about it.
Yeah, and that's one of my questions. How effective can he be over the next 6 years?
Right.
You know, he said just months ago that he thought Biden was fine.
Right.
Was that a lie? Or did he really think he was fine? And at that age, things start to happen, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Will he be a good choice? I mean, a lot of the reasons that he's been elected is because he's promising unicorns and fairy tales to happen.
Right, exactly.
And none of those have ever materialized.
No. He's pretty much stuck to the health care, looking to fix health care, whatever that means. But I don't think he's branched out much more than that. Maybe veterans, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's
Veteran?
I've heard he's been very big with the veterans and very big with the firefighters. But as far as the universal health care, he wants everybody, the insurance companies and the pharmacy, to reduce their prices.
Right.
I will not be going and yelling at the pharmacy and insurance companies, your prices are too high, you have to bring them down.
Yes, sir.
I will bring, there's a very good actuary on my team, and the actuaries run the insurance companies. They're the reason that they can provide insurance. And there are only about the tests are very hard, and there are only about 13,000 of them in the whole country with life and health insurance
Really?
actuaries. Only about 13,000. The tests are very hard. They take usually it takes 7 years to go through the actuarial exams. And somebody on my team worked at one of the top 3 insurance companies for 25 years and solely dedicated to health and pharmacy, and created most of the actuarial systems over the last 20 years, especially the prominent systems, like the national account system. Theirs was the first at the company, and many high profile projects. Now, Vermont is not a rich state, so and Vermont can't have access to somebody with that type of experience. That's pretty much like a Michael Jordan or a Tom Brady kind of thing. There's
top of the line.
It's the top of the line, exactly, and that's what I bring with me. So at the very least, they will have access to somebody. But from what I think would more likely happen is Vermont will probably save tens of millions of dollars during my term.
Well, and I must tell people, you are very much supportive of term limits, speaking of terms, and you have promised to only run for 2 terms, which in the Senate is 12 years, and that's about right, isn't it? Enough.
That's more than enough.
That's enough.
I'm 62 years old. I'll be 75 then.
But I think for anybody, because you become predictable, and I don't think people realize what an advantage that you're predictable to people that are looking to go against you on something, because they can predict what you're going to do or say after 12 years.
Right. Well, even though Senator Sanders is an independent, the Democrats don't even put somebody against him.
No, they want him.
No.
Yeah.
So they know what kind of vote they're getting with that.
Right.
As a Libertarian or an independent with me, I'm a true independent, a true libertarian type independent. Nobody knows what they're going to get with me. Both parties will be after me because they don't know what's going to happen.
Keep them guessing. I know, because I worked for Ciba-Geigy for 20 years before I came to Vermont, which is a big pharmaceutical chemical company, and now it's Novartis. But I don't think people realize that they are constantly looking, the research and the money that they spend on trying to come up with new drugs, and then the process itself of getting it passed through the FDA. It's mind-boggling how much money they spend, and they want to recoup it. So that's a lot of it's got to do with the cost of the medicine, because they want to make money.
They shelled out.
Yeah, exactly. They want to make money. So I always find that, I don't understand why there's such a strong feeling. Although I will say, the other day I had somebody tell me my pill cost $800. I said, no, forget it. I didn't need it, so I chose to not use it.
Right,
that's ridiculous.
But it may sound ridiculous, but if that $800 pill saves your life or gives you another year, you pay the $800.
You're right, I would.
And that's the wonderful thing about the U.S. healthcare system. Yes, our stuff is expensive, but we have the best, the finest, the best hospitals. We have the best drugs. We have the best research, the best equipment that is coming out. But that all costs money. So you have to give companies an incentive to make the money.
I have a friend who lives in Canada, and I would suggest that what you hear about the Canadian healthcare is not exactly all
ideal.
Roses.
Right, because they have to, but they come here and pay for it because they can't get it there. Because that their socialized medicine is not letting them get the relief they need. Yep. So many people come across the border to get to get their fixes.
They own a hotel in Maine for families and for patients who don't have to necessarily be in the hospital in Bangor, but that's where they send a lot of people, because that's where my friend went. And,
okay.
Well,
we have the best care, but it can't be free.
No. No, sure. You also, by the way, I just saw this student debt. Where's your stance on us paying off?
I don't believe. I do not believe in bonusing people $5,000, $10,000 because they made a mistake when they signed up for it and went for degrees that they won't make money at.
Right.
I do have feelings for people that are paying their debts for over 25 years.
And there are many.
And there are many. I chose not to do debt when I went to school, and worked part-time. I didn't necessarily take full-time every time, but I paid in cash for most of my education.
Good for you.
And didn't have debt. I didn't have a great college experience because I was working 30, 40 plus hours a week.
You missed out on all the good times.
So I missed a lot of the fun, but it turned out that was a good choice. Overall.
I know somebody who just recently, and he graduated, like you said, like 15 years ago, just paid it off. And how does a young person, in this case was a guy, how does he meet somebody, fall in love, get an apartment, have kids? You'd be
with all the debt.
Yeah, with all the debt. That's bad, but that's really the colleges and what they charge, not necessarily that we should pay.
It's a little of both, and I believe that college education has gotten way too costly as well. While inflation might be 2 or 3%, not necessarily in the last couple of years, but 2 or 3% a year, college costs are going up 7% or something like that, which is just ridiculous. And college educations aren't for everybody.
That is true.
You know, one of the things that I believe would be very good for this state is, and it will help solve two crises, is building of houses, having construction people. Right. The trouble is the construction people can't make any money at it because of all the rules that have been set down by the supermajority that we have in there.
Yep, and I worked as a commissioner of labor for a couple of years, and the construction people would tell me, anybody would say about Act 250, we just want to have predictability. Tell us how much it's going to be up front and how long is it going to take so we can plan, because it's all over the board,
Right.
and you never know when they say, well, 10 acres, you got to do this, and it just gives them a headache, and they don't want to. They don't want to get involved.
They don't want to deal with
They
us.
want to know how much money they're going to make, and why not?
Right.
You know.
That's how businesses work.
Exactly.
And the state, the legislature does not understand that.
Exactly.
You have to let businesses make a little if you want to get rid of the problems. I think it would be great to be able to start building developments. Vermonters tend to want a lot of acreage, and it doesn't make sense to build sewage systems
Right, for the
and
10
water
acres,
systems, and for the 10 acres that you have, when you have to go another 10 acres to
Right.
bring it to the next person.
Right.
So those kind of things would be great, and Vermont has plenty of land
Yep, they do.
that we can do that with.
Yep.
We just have to change our mentality a little
Every
bit.
time they try to fix Act 250, it ends badly. There's pushing, yin and yang. They're always fighting about it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we have about 13 minutes, and I know you wanted to talk about two things which piqued my interest, was forest fires and veterans you mentioned. And could we spend a little time talking about your interest in forest fires, which I couldn't quite figure out where we were going with that.
Well, one of my past clients, who now lives in Colorado, was downsized from the media industry years ago, and wrote a book called Megafire. His name was Michael Kotis, and he wrote a book called Megafire because of all the super fires that were coming to California and Colorado, and people were dying, and the firefighters were dying.
Right.
When the fires got so hot, it was because of forest management. Because if you remember back in the 70s with Smokey Bear, and they say don't start forest fires,
Right.
and because they can put them out, but that's not good land management because forests grow over too much that way. Beforehand, forest fires would happen, and they would put themselves out with rain, or they would hit a
Right.
rock wall or
Right.
something like that, and the forest fires would go out. But that's nature, and we were trying to tame nature, and that doesn't always
No, I
work,
was gonna
and
say,
it
good luck with
rarely
that.
works.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it took another 50 years for them to figure that out. In the book, he talked about the head of the forest fire agency in D.C. If it came in at 8 o'clock at night, he would want it out by 8 o'clock in the morning. So
So what were you planning to
I
do something about management of forest fires or forests?
Yes,
Yeah,
the management of them, and Michael talks about it in his book, and he's been
Great.
involved with getting things done in Washington. If you've seen these weird-looking trucks coming down your dirt road with arms that are going 20 feet in
Yeah.
to cut down brush,
Right.
so that there's a natural break for the forest fire.
Exactly, right.
I don't know if you've seen any of those.
Oh, yes, so I have actually.
They're pretty
Yeah.
neat looking.
Yeah, they're cool. We were in
But
Maine when
that's what it's come from.
We were in Maine when the smoke was coming down from Canada.
Canada?
That was weird.
It was
Because
like you
could
were at a
see it-
campfire.
You could see it. You could see it coming, and then you could smell it, obviously,
Right, and so they have a lot of fires in Canada as well.
because forests help with CO2, help with carbon, and
Right.
all the stuff we're trying to fix. So
Right.
if we mess up our forest lands, that's not good either.
Right, and when the forests go, they let all that carbon back out in the,
Right, exactly.
in the
So
world.
We're in worse shape.
So they're getting better at it, from what I gather,
I hope so.
and a lot of those weird-looking trucks are helping.
Because you're right, we've
do
got
it.
a lot of land here and a lot of forests.
Right.
Which is a good thing, which keeps us way
Right.
under the limits for
CO2.
Yeah, CO2. And
Right, which
air quality.
I don't understand the drive to get all electric and the future gas taxes and the oil taxes, the $4 oil taxes that are coming. I'm not sure where that's standing right now, but I think that's ridiculous.
We're going to do a show on this. If everybody will come forward come January, they're bringing all of that legislation back, and they're supposed to tell us how much it's going to cost. And that's the time that they're going to vote on whether they go forward with it or whether they kill it. And if people don't want to spend $7 a
gallon for oil.
Exactly. Maybe we'll just say no, and make it so they
I
don't.
hope so.
Yeah.
I would actually suggest Vermont get rid of the gas tax, or most of it,
Oh.
because it's very hard to get gas up here. When I go to Massachusetts or Connecticut, gas is 30 or 40 cents less, because there are a lot of people there, and there's a lot of gas there. In
Supply
Vermont,
and demand,
in
right?
Vermont, there aren't a lot of people, there aren't a lot of gas stations, so it costs more to bring it up here. Just to bring it up the extra,
Interesting.
it's an extra 100 miles or 200 miles that you have to bring that gas.
Because that funds our transportation
Right.
budget, which would be, we'd have to find a replacement for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree to finding a replacement,
Yeah,
not
right.
just eliminating it and piling on debt.
Interesting.
But that's a big tax that Vermonters pay. Think of how many miles you travel in a year. Let's say if you do 10,000 miles, if you're paying if you get, let's say 25 miles to the gallon, that's 40 gallons right there. That's worth $16.
Oh, don't look at me.
No,
You've gone beyond my capabilities.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than that. But it ends up being a decent number, and Vermonters don't tend to make as much as people from Massachusetts, especially if you live in the Boston area, or the New York State. It's just an extra tax. But
There you go.
yes, you have to figure out some way to replace that.
We could do it by miles of road damage. That would be good, I think. Anyway, so we talked about you only running for 2 terms, but you also, you talked about veterans. That's what I wanted to talk about. And did you have anything in mind to help our veterans? Bless you for your service.
I would pretty much do anything to help the veterans that have given their life going overseas and protecting our country. I mean, they're the reason why we can live the way we're living, and that is also another reason we need a strong military. Is because we want to keep this 250-year thing going, and the way to do that is to have force in back of you. If we weren't as strong as we are, Russia would be attacking Alaska instead of attacking.
That's true. You can see it from Alaska.
Ukraine. Yes, you can see it.
Russia,
And Alaska has oil and gold and all kinds of other riches. So they wouldn't be attacking Ukraine for their grain and their chemicals. They would have attacked Alaska. And they even came out and said, we want to get our Alaska back. They said this a couple.
Did they say that?
Yeah, they said that.
I missed that.
They said that in the last couple of years.
Oh, wow.
That it was taken, improperly, and they might want to be taking it back.
Wow.
But they won't do it. They're doing flybys of.
Well, didn't they send that air balloon was over Alaska when we wouldn't shoot it down?
That was the Chinese.
Oh, that was I'm sorry. You're right. I apologize. Right. Same.
That was the Chinese,
sort of same mentality.
but they're the same. They're the same ball that you're juggling
exactly.
around.
I'm sorry. I never understood why we didn't just shoot that down, but there you go.
they ended up shooting it down, and I didn't believe they should. I thought they should have.
Interesting. Captured it?
I should have captured it. Yeah,
Wow.
and China actually said, we want it back. You can't have it. It's like, I don't think so, because it crashed all the way down.
Yeah,
I would just put a pinprick in there and let it fall down so we could see what's going on with that.
Wow,
I mean, I don't know if that would be available or whatever, but I'm sure they probably could have captured that.
Interesting. Well, that's
and didn't.
Were you absolutely insane when the rocket went up in the air and then they brought it back to its original place?
Just the other day?
Yeah.
With Tesla?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
They caught their rocket.
I was screaming. I was so excited. That is true, because, they cost billions, these things to make, and they land in the water and they're destroyed. So.
Right. My dad actually worked on the Apollo
did he?
program.
Oh,
he
wow.
worked for Pratt & Whitney at the time, so they were developing
how exciting for him.
the engines, and it was very cool.
Oh, that's a good history, a good background to come from. That's really cool. So you also talked about, we have just a few minutes, but us is what I like, that you would like to ensure, but that the U.S. return to being a sovereign world leader. Amen to that.
Absolutely.
We better do it soon.
We have a lot of work to do, and mainly it's fiscal. Yeah. We have the brains. We can make specialized rockets. We can make specialized medicine and doing everything like that. But we're coming under a tremendous amount of debt, and we've got to pay that debt back, or our future is going to go away.
Right. And we do need a leader, a strong leader. I think I'm sort of into that.
I'm a little scary about both our presidential choices.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with either of them.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little different change, but it's fairly scary. And when you listen to what they say, we'll see. Who knows? You also talked about bringing in more federal jobs, which makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, Vermont has very few federal jobs.
Yeah.
So I think there would be
That's great.
a good possibility if I got in to do some horse trading.
That would be great.
To get that. Now, I was told by somebody who ran for a different office that, Vermonters don't like federal people coming in. I'm like, well, that's true, but it does have its advantages.
First of all, they probably make a little bit more, and they pay a little more in taxes because they make a little more.
Right,
so
and
that's not bad.
And they have more disposable income, so they can buy more at the grocery at the store, at the local stores. Right. So, and yes, I'd love to bring jobs, but this is a beautiful place to live in, but it's inconvenient for a lot of companies.
Yeah.
A lot of home workers can do stuff like that. So that's certainly helpful. Yeah. But excuse me. But I think the way Vermont should focus, if we want to improve things, is at the legislative level, so that we make it attractive for builders to come in and build.
Exactly.
We need a lot of houses. Right. We need a lot of apartments. If we designate, and I was just in Burlington, and I was trying to hand out pens to some workers. Yeah. They say, I'm sorry, I'm from New York. Why are we hiring?
Right, well, it's right across the border there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. So it is convenient, and I'm sure they come and spend money.
They do.
But Vermonters need jobs. They can be doing those road construction jobs. Right. For between the flaggers, like there were 6 or 8 people and only one machine was running, and that's not atypical of construction. But they could be Vermonters.
Yeah, they could be.
Higher paying jobs, give you more security.
Yeah. An opportunity.
A better job than you might be used to.
And probably better medical benefits.
Right.
Yeah. So we have just a little half a minute here. Could you kind of tell our folks why they should vote for you for The U.S. Senate, Matt Hill.
One, I know money. I understand money. I know, and most of the Senate is made up of lawyers. We need somebody else instead of lawyers. Not that lawyers are bad, but when I did my CPA test, 25% of it was law. So I have a decent understanding on law. There's no accounting requirement whatsoever for lawyers. So, and many of them I have found do not understand money whatsoever. So that is one thing. And the other thing is bringing the actuary person I have, which can ultimately save the state millions of dollars.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's coming up
This was fun.
soon, right?
It's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I have many more pens to hand out.
Check them out. What is your website, quickly, before we...
My website is Matt Hill for Senate. Excuse me, matthillforsenate.org, which is MATTHILLFORSENATE.org.
Great.
Thank you very much.
It's really a very good website. So, thank you for tuning in. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbite.